It's the 26th of December, 2020. It snowed. We had about an inch yesterday. Some of it's melted off. Doing my recreational hand sawing. My recreational cross cutting. For fun. I'll probably get the chainsaw out this afternoon and cut some firewood for reels. This is fun. When you run it one-handed, you have all that torque on your wrist where you're twisting. When you run it two-handed, you can be relaxed about it. As long as the log's heavy enough to keep itself in place. See, two-handed, I can balance it with my offhand, and I can draw and push. My other hand. Just relaxing. You'll see me, I'll switch sometimes. I'll be running left-handed as my primary, balancing with my right. My right hand is my dominant hand. And I'm really not putting a lot of force into it. That's solid wood. See, you can tell I'm really out of breath. Not. See, it's got a little hollow spot in the middle, but that's oak. Hard. The bark's all rotted off of it, and you see the white wood is rotting away, but the hardwood on the inside is still good for firewood. It's 10 degrees last night. Right here's where I want to see. So it's 10 degrees last night. It's probably 30 degrees right now. Maybe right at freezing. Stuff's starting to melt a little bit in the sun. Still clearing out my wood lot. All right, now see, we're past that hollow spot. Solid there. So I've been cutting up this log, this oak log. I'll have a clip of it in there where I was cutting. But I'm out here today and it's been snowing. and it snowed yesterday or day before yesterday. Then yesterday it was 10 degrees out, and so it stayed on the ground. Today it's starting to melt a little bit, so I'll show some woods there. See the snow all behind me here. But anyway, so 26th of December, I said that in another clip, but I'll probably put this clip first and then run the other one. But anyway, just out here enjoying the weather. It's blue skies, about 30 degrees, 32 degrees, maybe 34 degrees. Maybe it warmed up a little bit. When I woke up this morning, it was 20, and it had been 10 last night before bed. So we've been cranking the fire, and I decided I'll get out. I've been trying to do my one weekend, one day a week I'll get the crosscut out and cut some wood by hand. It's good exercise. You're moving your upper body, and it's good to be in that frame of mind where I cut this dead tree down with the big axe, and then I'm going to cut it up in firewood lengths with the crosscut, and then I'll probably get my chainsaw out, sharpen it, and go cut a load of lumber, a load of firewood. But just probably going to be a fairly cold week, and I'll be working on Monday and through the week, and so my wife will need firewood for the to keep the house warm. My propane went out for my I have propane for my fire. I'm not fire. I have propane for my cook stove. I have a propane range that we've got, and so the only thing we use propane for is a little heater in the greenhouse and a propane range. And the propane range, I guess after all the baking for Christmas, it finally ran out. So this morning I was out of propane. The water whistled for tea, but the coffee didn't quite get to perk. So I stoked the fire up, and I put the coffee on the perk, and I got my skillet out, and I cleaned it up, put it on the wood stove, and I cooked my breakfast on the wood stove. Leftover chunked up ham from Christmas dinner, and a fried egg and some toast, and perked my coffee on the wood stove. And I thought, I could go down today and get propane, or I could just cook all weekend on the wood stove as just kind of as practice in case I ran out of propane, because propane may not always be there. So I may just I get the propane from a little Indian gas station, and the guy's a real nice guy, but he's open all the time. I could go down there Sunday and get it, whereas a lot of the places are closed. He's not closed over the weekend or the holidays, so I could get it anytime I wanted. But what if the propane isn't there to get, and the stove is useless except for a shelf for holding your pots and pans, and you got to cook on a fire outside, or you got to cook on your wood heater? When I bought my wood heater, I went around. I was in the market to buy a heater, and before I moved in the house here, I was living in town with central heat and air, and all the conveniences of being 3 seconds to any store I wanted to. I was 2 blocks from the grocery store. I was a block from a gas station. I was a couple blocks from the nearest pizza place. I was close to everything. And of course, I grew up with wood heat, and I knew what I wanted in a wood stove. When I was young, we a lot of times didn't have electricity or didn't have running water, and we would heat our water up for our baths on our wood stove in the winter, and we'd cook beans in the winter on the wood stove, and we'd cook our meals in the winter on the wood stove because it's what we had. And so I wanted a wood stove that the top would get hot. So the top had to get hot. So one of the first places I went and looked, I saw an ad on Craigslist, and I went and I asked the guy, does it get hot on top? He's like, oh no, it's double insulated. It doesn't get hot on top. Your kids will be safe. And I'm like, well, I'm looking for one I can cook on if I need to. And he's like, oh, well, he thought it was a selling point that the wood stove didn't get hot on top. It had to have the blower on to put out heat because the top was insulated and the sides were insulated so it wouldn't catch your house on fire. Well, what good is that? So my father-in-law, I've always used the Ashley, I think it's the Ashley wood stoves, the brown ones that you have the the safety lid that is spaced off of the firebox a little ways, and you can lift it up and cook on the firebox. And but my father-in-law had one that he got years ago called a Ember Hearth, and it says it on the front, Ember Hearth, and it's got cast iron doors, and it's got a 1/4-inch steel welded construction, and it's double walled on the sides because air blows around it. It has a blower on the back, and it has these air vents that come around the front, and then it also has tubes that come through the top underneath the cooktop to blow air around the top, and it has the breather dampers, the dampers on the front that you can change how much air your fire's getting. And his was kind of worn out, but he had 2 of them. He had one under his house, so when he built his new house, he has one in it. He has one in his house in town, and so I was on Craigslist one day, and I happened to run across somebody had one brand new. They haven't been made since the 80s, I think. And he had the fireplace, he had the blower, he had the temperature controller, the speed controller for the blower, he had the fireplace poker, the shovel. It has you can take the doors off the front. It has cast iron doors. You can take those off, and you can put a screen in so you can see the fire burning. He had that. He had all the stuff for it. So I got that for $300, and I thought, man, that's a good deal. It still had the paint on it from when it had been, he hadn't even cooked in it hardly, like he hasn't burned a fire hardly at all. It has fire bricks on the inside of the firebox and around the bottom, and they were still intact. So I've been using that ever since. I guess probably 5 or 6 years I've been here, or at least 4 or 5 years. And but it's important to have dual use for almost anything that you have. A lot of things that we have are single use. The gas range is single use. The washer is single use. The dryer is single use. But your wood stove should be dual purpose. You should be able to cook on the wood stove, and you should be able to heat with the wood stove. And you should be able to run the wood stove without electricity. These people that have external fireplaces, sure, it keeps the ash and the dust out of your house because your fireplace is 100 yards from your house, 50 yards from your house, and it keeps all that outside. But they have to have a pump to pump that water in to run it through radiators to heat the house. So they have to have electricity for that. And when you have an actual wood stove inside your house, it's a focal point for your house, and you can sit inside. Everybody sits around the wood stove. It becomes a habit. This morning I sat next to the wood stove on the couch with my arm next to the wood stove. Wood stove's about 3 feet, 2.5 feet from the couch. And I sat there and talked to my wife. She was sitting in a kitchen chair in front of the wood stove, and she was drinking her tea, and I'm drinking my coffee. And we sat there for about an hour just chit-chatting in the morning. A lot of times when I'm off work, that's what we do. It's just a natural place. Even though your house can be warm everywhere else because it's heated up, it's warmer at the wood stove. And so people sit there. I set my perk pot of coffee on the wood stove because it stays warm all day. When I get done cutting firewood, I'll go get a cup of coffee. It'll still be warm. I'll drink the cup of coffee, then I'll go get my chainsaw and I'll sharpen it, and I'll go do the next thing. It's where I take my breaks in the day during the winter. And to me, there's nothing better. Winter is my favorite season. Fall's a close second. Summer is a third. I like spring all right, but spring and summer are they're almost on the same level. Fall and winter are my 2 favorite seasons because I enjoy cutting firewood. I enjoy snow. I enjoy cold weather. I enjoy having a wood stove, and all the time we get to spend with each other as a community, as a family. We spend more time together in the wintertime than any other time. And winter's always been my favorite season, winter and fall. And part of that's I get to hunt. Part of it's I get to cut wood and have a fire. I really like having a fire. There's something about it that's just nice. But anyway, this is my video for the week. No politics, nothing I'm worried about. Just enjoying the season, enjoying Christmas. Hope everybody had a good Christmas. I really enjoyed. I watched some stuff for some of the guys I subscribe to on YouTube about Christmas. The Warrior Poet Society guy, I think his name's John. He did an excellent live stream. I didn't watch the live stream. I saw it pop up, but I didn't watch it as live. I watched it after it was done. And where he answered questions and about the most controversial topic in history. And that was pretty interesting. Real smart guy, seems to have it together. He's working hard on it. So if you want to watch something interesting, go watch his live stream on the most controversial subject in history. And of course, he's talking about Jesus. And but this season, I got to talk. I called my family, wished them Merry Christmas, talked to my grandma. It's important to get together and let people know that they're not alone, especially going into a new year that's uncertain. So, but I'm just trying to be cheerful, be happy. Don't be worried about things. Enjoy the simple things. Cutting firewood, the tree getting in the way, all the light, the dog. What are you doing, Beatrice? This is the dog. Come here. Come here, Beatrice. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's Beatrice. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's a good girl.